Hello and welcome, ladies and gents, to a TV review. Very special, a franchise very close to my heart. The Last of Us has finally hit our screens. Loads of you have reached out to me and said, Jay, what do you think? What do you think of The Last of Us? Do you like it? Do you think it was like Rings of Power? Fuck no. And thank God it isn't. The Last of Us, guys, episode 1 was absolutely amazing. I really enjoyed it. This is going to contain mild spoilers for the episode, so if you haven't seen it, make sure you go and check it out before you watch this video. If you do like the review as well, guys, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you are new to the channel. So it was all very much, Jay, have you seen it? Jay, have you watched it? Jay, what do you think of it? I absolutely freaking loved it. And I have to tip my hat to Mr. Druckmann. He fucked up partly on The Last of Us Part 2. I can see where a lot of the gripes were coming from. I personally enjoyed it to a degree, but I can see where people had massive issues with it, and it did fall off. We didn't get the justice we needed for Joel, unfortunately. It's going to be interesting to see if they follow that through with this series. Is it going to go into part 2, as in the games, in the story, or are we just going to be seeing The Last of Us, i.e. the first game in this TV series? Who knows? But anyway, we're going to break down briefly what happens in the episode and the things that I really enjoyed about it. I'm trying to really struggle to think of gripes. I don't think there was anything really wrong with this opening episode. It was a fantastic way to introduce fans of the game to the TV series and brand new fans of the franchise as well. I thought the acting was phenomenal. I really enjoyed the set pieces. The atmosphere was great. I love the tension building in the beginning, especially when spoilers, that, you know, Sarah's going around the house. We know what's coming. If you've played the game, you know what happens to Sarah. And then, even though we knew that was coming, they just built it up in a very genius way. I absolutely loved how you're sort of guessing and you think that there's a neighbour that's going to bosh through the window of the house, which is what happens in the game, but the dog jumps up at the window instead. So it's sort of teasing what you know, and it's teasing the players of the game as well, which I really liked. There's a few Easter eggs in there. I didn't have any issues at all with the cast, and as I said, the atmosphere and the general sort of feeling of the episode was great. It's quite a long one as well. It was a very sort of movie-like opening premiere episode for the series. Had absolutely no problems with that. I think it clocks in at about an hour and 25 minutes, something like that. But I absolutely loved it. The time flew by, and when you're sat there watching an episode that's that long, before I watched that, I thought, oh God, what are we going to be brought into here? But considering the last big TV series I watched was Rings of Power, an absolute abysmal, piss-poor reiteration of the show and a franchise that we all know and love, shitted on it completely. This has been turned around massively. Completely different, obviously, completely different director. Neil Druckmann's been working on this alongside the producers and the directors of the show. He's sort of part producing it, part directing it, so he's got a heavy hand in on what's going on. Some were worried about that, and others were pleased that the original creator is going to have some sort of involvement in the TV series. But anyway, let's start from the top. So it opens up, we see a talk show, kind of looks a bit like that scene from the Joker where you've got Joaquin Phoenix's character talking to Murray. Kind of opens up like that. There's a scientist guy there, bioscientist, and he's talking to the host of the show, and the host of the show is kind of mocking the scientist a little bit, saying, oh, you know, we've got organisms running around crazy, and the scientist is like, hey, do you actually know what a microorganism can do? But this one in particular, we've seen a new strain of this virus. It's basically a fungi. It spreads from person to person, and instead of just killing off the host or trying to attack the immune system, which is what most viruses do, this new host of virus likes to control people, basically. It turns them into walking monsters. It turns their skin, their brain, into fungi, but it doesn't kill them off. It actually holds them hostage and almost uses them as puppets, which is terrifying. So he scares the shit out of the talk show host. And the talk show host is like, oh, damn, is this something that's actually happening? The guy's like, yeah, you need to shit yourself. So it was a really nice way to introduce, for those of you that haven't played the game, kind of what happens and how the virus spreads. They did move a little bit away from the spores aspect, and they've gone into it being a fungi, sort of tendril type virus. Probably because people are shit scared of COVID. I was a little bit disappointed with the way that they changed that, but it's a very minor gripe. It still works, it still fits the storyline. But I think, you know, for people to be complaining about COVID and worried about COVID, it's another virus out there, guys. Yes, it kills. Yes, it's deadly, all that sort of stuff. But to change the crux of the virus that's been in place and the story about how this virus starts versus the game, just because they don't want to terrify people, is a little bit silly. But anyway, they took that steer with it. It's not game breaking. It doesn't destroy anything in the show. It doesn't make anything appear stupid. It's been well written into the opening scenes, and the way that it's explained in terms of how the virus spreads, how it mutates, what role it's got to play is actually believable. So it's a minor gripe from me, but that's the one and only thing I can really think of that ticked me off a little bit about the opening episode. All the way through, we get great CGI. I also absolutely love, it's the minor details for me, I absolutely love the intro CGI where you've got almost, it's kind of like how Rings of Power tried to do it, but it just looked cheap and it looked, you know, underdone and undercooked. You got a nice CGI intro with the opening credits. It's the virus itself sort of spreading into the bloodstream, and it's spreading into the nervous system. But the music that's playing in the background is the actual music that is used within the game. I was so pleased that they used some of the music. It's been sort of remixed a little bit, but the actual tone and the center crux of the base of the music is exactly the same as the music that you get in the game, and I absolutely love that. It was just a heartwarming sort of touch. It brought me back to the day when I first played The Last of Us, and the music just stays with you. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's great in part 2, but I would say the original game just absolutely smashes it with the atmosphere and the music. So really pleased to see that returning for the series, and love the intro. We then sort of jump forward to 2003, which is the present day, and we kind of see the pre-virus stage. So we kind of see people going about their lives. We're introduced to Joel, who is played by Pedro Pascal. Absolutely fantastic actor. He's been in loads of stuff, Narcos, Game of Thrones. He's done some amazing movies and TV series, so he's a great pick for Joel. Already is setting the scene for me. He's already paying absolute homage to Nolan North's character, and I think he's doing an amazing job at Joel in the TV series. We've got Bella Ramsey, who's playing as Ellie. Not as strong, I don't think, in the opening scene, but I think as the episodes go on, we're probably going to grow towards Ellie. At this point, she comes across a little bit selfish, a little bit of a brat. But if you recall, for those of you that played the game, if you recall the opening scenes of Ellie, she did actually come across like that. So I think the portrayal's good, but I wasn't as sold completely on Bella's portrayal of Ellie initially as I was with Pedro. I thought Pedro was brilliant, absolutely smashed it. There was a couple of little ticks and the little gripes from me that Bella sort of delivered in some of Ellie's scenes that I didn't quite buy into the character. But again, it might be that I know exactly what Ellie becomes. I know what she does towards the end of the game and what we're going to see in the series, no doubt. I know the kind of person she grows into. So for those of us that have been on that journey already and we've seen these character arcs, we know where it ends, we know what the plot's going to be. I assume because this first episode is essentially the first hour or two of the game, and it's delivered beautifully. But anyway, we're probably going to see Ellie's character evolve, hopefully, and / we should see Ellie's character evolve into something that we can grow fond of and grow an attachment to. There's already chemistry on screen between Pedro and Bella. We're going to see Joel and Ellie's relationship boom, and I've already seen that in the opening scenes with them, and I think by the end of this episode they're kind of getting on each other's tits a little bit. They don't want to get on, and that's exactly what happens in the game. And as we know, it booms into one of the greatest relationships in video game history. So I imagine we're going to get that with these two actors, and we've already seen it. For me personally, I'm already convinced it's going to be a great relationship. It's going to be sad, it's going to be funny, there's going to be tension, there's going to be real emotion with these characters, and that's what The Last of Us is about. Yes, it's a survival horror type game. Yes, it's an epic kind of adventure. Yes, there's great dialogue, but the absolute center of it all is Joel's relationship with Ellie and how they bounce off of each other. One minute they hate each other, they can't stand each other. but they know they have to sort of get through it together and they have to rely on each other to survive. But they also give each other energy. They give each other that passion to keep going and to do what they need to do. So I think that is something we're going to see, and I cannot wait to see that unfold between the two characters. What I really liked about the opening scenes is that we see some of the character development and some of the relationships and the pre-virus stage that we don't actually see in the game. We actually get a little sniff of pre-virus when, for those of you that have played the Left Behind DLC, Ellie is with a girl she becomes infatuated with, and then Tommy and Joel are kind of on like a runner type job. We see a lot of the pre-virus stuff that we don't really see much of in the game other than the DLC. So I thought that was really nice. It also gives us a chance to very quickly get attached to Sarah and very quickly lose Sarah. And I think the game, it worked in this because in the game, Sarah is a lot younger than the Sarah that you see in the TV series. And it's because she's a child, she's automatically got that innocence. She's automatically got that draw where people are like, oh my God, it's a little girl and she's innocent. And, you know, I want her to do well. And just that natural boom that people have for, you know, for kids being well and, you know, becoming strong people, gaining a personality, all that kind of stuff. They're innocent, right? And then in this one, in the TV series, Sarah is kind of in her teens, and it's a lot harder to automatically care about her, if you see what I mean. So it was a smart move by the director and the production team to sort of give us some time with Sarah before ultimately she gets blown away. It happens a lot quicker in the game, but I was fine with that. Like I said, we needed that time with her to grow that attachment, to grow that emotional investment into the character, to actually care when she did die. So it worked. It absolutely worked perfectly for me. Even though I sat there and I knew, because I've played the game, I knew Sarah was going to get it. My partner hasn't played the game. She doesn't know anything about The Last of Us. This was the first experience she's had with anything Last of Us related, is watching this episode. And she was instantly like, holy shit, this is, you know, that was his daughter. They've killed her straight away. I was like, yep, that's what happened in the game. And the fact that you're feeling that through the TV series already shows me that they've done a great job at mirroring that emotion that all of us will remember in those opening scenes of the game. So I thought that was great. I also think, touching on the casting a little bit, as I said earlier, love that they've put in Pedro Pascal as Joel. I think the scenes that he's already delivered have been fantastic, very believable, relatable and new as well. It's stuff that we know about Joel. He's very hardened, he's very worn down, he's very emotional, still suffering from the aftermath of Sarah dying, still shell-shocked, still, you know, struggling with his PTSD, as any person would. And we're also getting Pedro a little bit as well. We're getting some of his cheeky side. We're getting some of that emotional interaction, that bond building element that he's great at in the other sort of franchises that we've seen him in. So really, really great casting. I'm okay with Bella Ramsey for Ellie, but I don't think she's been given enough time yet to boom. Pedro's hit the ground running. Absolutely love it. I want to see where Bella sort of takes Ellie's character. Is she going to stay true to the game, or are they giving her that direction, or have they said, you know, kind of bring your own spin to it a little bit as well? I'd like to see that. I'd like to see a slightly different version of Ellie, because right now I'm not sensing that it's the same as the game character, which isn't a bad thing, and I'm hoping they do take a little bit of a turn, but let's see where her character goes. But either way, I think the casting is great. Even Tommy's character is fantastic. The girl that plays Sarah is great. And also just the little touch it is that Pedro is clearly not American. He is of some sort of Latin descent. I don't know, Mexican, don't shoot me down, but he's from that sort of part of the world. And if they were to throw, for example, a young white girl into the mix, it probably wouldn't make sense to his heritage. It's just the little touches like that that I think shows that these people in the show are keen to make the right decisions. They're keen to put the detail in there, the believable detail. So in this one, Sarah is an African American girl, and you know, it works completely well with Pedro and who you know, Sarah's mum is, that we see in the very early scenes as well. So I think it's fantastic. I think it's a little touch, but it works. And because it's different to the game, it feels fresh. It feels like they've thought about it. It feels like they're paying attention to the smaller details. And as we know with Rings of Power, still grinding me now, the smaller details matter. And especially when you're going, or you're essentially taking the lore of your story from something that's already there, something that's already written, something that's been delivered beautifully, i.e. the game. It's a masterpiece, so it's very easy to cock it up. So hopefully they won't. And from what I've seen in this episode, it's laid out a fantastic foundation. I can't wait for the next episode. I'm going off on a tangent a little bit, but I'm really, really excited about it, guys. It's the first time really that a TV show has replicated a game or a movie franchise, and it's come away absolutely smashing it out of the park. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. But anyway, so Sarah was obviously a bit of a shock. We then get a really nice slow build up of the virus hitting the city. So we get the whole pre-virus scenes. Joel's having a great time with Tommy, his brother. Ellie's captured by the fireflies. We don't know exactly why they've got her, but they're looking at trading Ellie for a car battery, and they're going to give her over to another sort of sector of the fireflies in exchange for weapons, because the fireflies are at this point fighting a losing battle against the government and the military. There's martial law going on. So we see all that play out after the virus hits. But for now, those opening scenes, we get the character building with Joel, Tommy, Sarah, even Tess is in there as well. But we get that really sort of slow build. We kind of see what their normal lives are like before the virus hit, what their relationships are like, how they are as people, and we get very attached very quickly. So it's a very smart way of getting us buy-in, especially for those of you that haven't played the game. And if you haven't played the game, by the way, go and play it. It's one of the best, if not top 3 franchises that PlayStation can offer. It's a beautiful story. It's intense. It's emotional. I'm lost for words. I just can't explain it in a sentence that describes it and gives it enough justice. All I will say is, if you haven't completed The Last of Us, the first one, part 2, you can, it's okay. You can get away with not playing it, but the first one is an absolute must play. And if you haven't completed it, or you haven't even touched it, and you haven't played it before, do yourself an honor, play it. The remastered version's out now as well. You can get it on PS5. Just do it. End of. So as I was saying, we get the slow build up of the virus. What I really like is there's a tense scene with Sarah sort of walking around the neighborhood. She goes into the house. Joel gets a call from Tommy. So they're having like a movie night together. He gets a call from Tommy, and Tommy's like, I've been busted. I'm in jail. I need you to come and bail me out. And Joel's like, what, now? And he's like, yeah, come on. I need you to get me out. Can't stay in here. There's shit kicking off. People are fighting. There's rockets or something going on outside. Joel's like, oh, fuck's sake. So he leaves Sarah in the house, says to her, don't unlock the door, that kind of thing. And then she wakes up in the middle of the night. She falls asleep, and then she wakes up sort of middle of the night, early hours of the morning, and she can hear all sorts of craziness going on outside. There's fire engines, there's sirens going off, there's people screaming, glass is being shattered, there's jets flying overhead, all sorts of chaos, but she can't quite work out what's going on. She kind of takes a wander around the house, and this is the bit where I thought, here we go. This is that very early section in the game where you see Sarah absorbing everything around her. The virus is kicking in. It's spreading into the city. People are starting to go feral, and shit is about to burn, basically. Stuff is happening. So it was a very cool, slow build towards the virus hitting. I think they did it perfectly with pacing. It didn't throw it in straight away. And so, like I said, some of the nice touches that we got in the game, where the neighbor, for example, boshes through the back door, the glass pantry door. Didn't get that here. We were expecting it, but actually we got the dog jump up the door, and she let the dog in. And as she went to sort of go outside, she went into the neighbor's house, and she saw the guy basically have half of his neck chewed off like some beef jerky, and the old woman, who was supposed to be frail and out of it and losing her mind a little bit, sweet old lady, it's always the old ladies, she is sort of led on the floor, chewing up what's left of her, I assume her husband, brother, I don't know, I didn't pay attention too much to who the guy was, but she was chomping away on his neck, and then she sort of looks up, gets all glass-eyed, and then Joel sort of storms in, saves her. Tommy's there as well, he's got a rifle. They jump in the car. You guys know, if you've played the game, you know this whole sequence, but the way that it plays out is fantastic. It's believable. The characters are genuinely scared. They don't know what the hell's going on. They're portraying it brilliantly from the game. Not much was cut from the game in this, sort of copy and paste from it onto the screen. I thought it was done really well, and because it's done so well, they're not afraid to just almost replicate it, to just put it on the big screen as a live action. So I respect that. I mean, some people will probably have a problem with it. They go, well, you know, that's exactly how it happens in the game. I like that. I like that they're paying homage to it. The game is a masterpiece, and there's some elements of the game that I'm really excited to see in future episodes, and I know it's coming. Certain creatures you're going to see, certain events. I already know what the reason why the Fireflies are so protective over Ellie and what they want with her and why she's so special. Joel finds out, obviously, but I just can't wait to see those answers come out on screen, how that relationship's going to build and how they're going to slowly sort of span it out over time. I just can't wait to see it, even though I know what's coming. So amazing, absolutely amazing. So there's a great build up. Obviously we get the scene with Sarah, very emotional, and again it's been delivered beautifully on the big screen. I think they've done it absolute justice. You get that same heart-wrenching Joel's, you know, at his wit's end. He doesn't know what to do. His daughter's dying in his arms. Tommy's kind of stood there saying, Joel, you need to kind of walk away, and Joel's like, no. He keeps pumping her chest saying, Sarah, don't leave me, don't leave me. It's heartbreaking. And then you sort of fast forward 20 years later, I think it is, where the virus is fully fledged. It's sort of post-apocalyptic. The government still is controlling people through working martial law, all that kind of stuff. You've got this rebellion group called the Fireflies who are against everything that the government are doing. They're basically saying that they're using them as pawns. They haven't got true freedom. They can't leave the city. They're in lockdowns, all that kind of stuff. The government are saying we're doing it for your safety. There's all sorts of creatures beyond these walls that you're not going to be protected from if you leave. But at the same time, go and wash that, go and clean that. You're our bitches, go and deliver this when we want you to, basically. So there's that whole rebellion going on, that sect of people that truly believe that the government, again, are benefiting from this, and they're doing their best to try and wake people up to it and show them to the light and all that kind of stuff. So I really, really liked that the first sort of half an hour, the first few sections are essentially the first hour of the game. I really, really loved it. We then jump ahead, which is what happens in the game as well, where Joel is with Tess. In this episode, we see the Fireflies being introduced. We see Tess, we see Marlene, we see Ellie, all the backstories of those people. We get to spend a bit of time with Tommy. We see Joel fully fledged. We also sense and feel that rawness that Joel hasn't got over his daughter's death, as nobody would, but in the game, Joel is really, really heartbroken by it, and he's very angry, and he's very sort of bitter about it. And there's a section where Ellie, Tess, I think it is, and Joel, they're trying to escape out of the city because the deal is that Joel and Tess have to smuggle Ellie to another part of where the Fireflies are. In exchange, they'll give Joel and Tess a car battery, and he can use that to go and find his brother Tommy, which he hasn't heard of from in weeks, and he's absolutely worried about what's happened to him. He's basically fearing the worst, that he's died. This random guy sort of says, no, he's fine, I'm sure he'll get in touch, and Joel's like, no, I'm not buying it. Normally it's a couple of days, it's been weeks since he's contacted us. I need a car. Guy's like, fine, I'll give you a car. The only way you can get a battery is from this person in the Fireflies. So that's what happens. He makes a deal with Marlene and the Fireflies and says, look, give me a car battery, I'll smuggle this girl for you. And the Fireflies kind of agree, and she says, don't let me down, Joel, you're the best person for the job. There's a really cool interaction between Ellie and Joel where Ellie tries to pick up like a flip knife off of the floor. Joel smacks it out of her hand as soon as she comes out of the door. She tries to take Joel down, and he smacks it out of her hand, stands on it, and she's like, give me my knife back, and he just sort of like looks at her and says nah. And there's a funny interaction where he kicks the knife away as everything calms down, and he agrees to do it. He kicks the knife away, and Ellie's like, my knife, give me my knife, you're such a prick. Like, and there's already that interaction that we see amazingly building through the game, where it's a love-hate relationship, but as it goes on, it just becomes a pure love relationship. It's like father and daughter. They literally grow into becoming family with each other, and I think Joel sees a lot of Sarah in Ellie when she was younger, and that's what helps him grow that sort of emotional attachment to Ellie. It's a beautiful thing that, you know, that's portrayed through the game, so I'm sure they're going to do it justice in the TV series as well. Something else I'm really keen to see unfold, and there's loads of events that happen in the game, lots of sort of struggles, a couple of character deaths I won't spoil, but also like just generally being out and about in the world, being amongst these monsters. There's loads of tense moments, as you can imagine. There's loads of moments where they kind of need to save each other, and there's things that happen that sort of make their relationship all the more stronger for it when they're trying to overcome things together. So I can't wait to see that unfold on the screen. It's going to be amazing. But other than that, just final thoughts really, guys. Absolutely love. We had a little taster of the clicker. Now, for those of you that don't know, the clicker is that horrible creature in the game that sort of walks around twitching, and it literally clicks and makes this horrible fucking noise. It's blind, it can't see, but it's got really, really sharp hearing. And there's this really tense bit in the game, which I think we'll see in episode 2, where they go into like a mall sort of area or a hospital. They're sneaking through. Part of the job is to drop Ellie off, and that's where episode 1 ends. They're going into the contamination zone, but there's a part that's coming where they go into like a hospital area, they sneak through, and there's a hallway full of those undead, you know, zombie type people that have been infected by the virus, the fungi, but there's a couple of clickers in there as well. And it's the first part of the game where I thought, holy shit, and it freaked me the hell out. It's where the horror element kicks in. You have to sneak through it, and you've got to shiv them in the back of like the head or the neck. You have to do a stealth takedown, because if the clicker hears you and it grabs hold of you, you're dead. It's like a one-hit kill, basically. So I would imagine they're going to replicate that on the screen. We're probably going to get a lot of dark, creepy, stealth-like scenes, and it's going to feel absolutely amazing. I loved the glimpse of the clicker that we got in this one, where Joel was sort of talking to Tess, I think it was. They were going through an apartment, and one of them was kind of imprinted into the wall. The fungi had sort of trapped it against the wall, but you just know at any point, as time passes, it's just going to peel itself off the wall, and shit's going to get crazy. So I loved the prosthetics on the clicker. I don't know if some of it was CGI or if it was all prosthetic work, but it looked fantastic. None of it looked sort of plasticine, cardboard, mannequin type. It looked really, really nice, and I think we're in for a treat with some of the other monsters that we're going to see. Again, I'm not going to spoil it if you guys haven't played the game, but we're in for some absolute monstrosities later on, and I can't wait to see the clicker. As soon as I saw it, I thought, oh shit, the clicker, and my partner was like, clicker, what's that? And I'm like, I'm not going to say anything. Wait until you see that fucker move. Wait until you have to experience what is coming. And I'd imagine that's what we're going to see in episode 2 as well, which is going to be fun. So yeah, love the prosthetics. As I said, love the chemistry between Joel and Ellie already. I already think this is going to be an emotional roller coaster of a journey, which is exactly how it is in the game, so I can't wait for that. And it ends with the gang entering a contaminated zone en route to drop Ellie off to the Fireflies, basically, as I said, to get hold of that car battery so they can put it in the vehicle and drive out of the city and go and find Tommy, because he ain't picking up the phone. So for me, guys, you want to know my thoughts on it. I freaking loved it. I thought it's done the game absolute justice. I cannot wait to see episode 2. It's a weekly episodic TV series. I think we've got 9 episodes from what I saw online. So what I will do with this is the same as what I did with Rings of Power. I will review the episodes as they come out each week. Just bear with me, because I have got a little one on the way, and it could be that the episode reviews don't come out exactly a week on the button when the episode comes out, but I will promise you that I will get them out each week before the following episode comes out. But do yourself justice, guys. Go and watch this one. Do yourself even more justice if you can. If you own a PS3, a 4 or a 5, go and play The Last of Us. It's fantastic. It's such a great experience. It's one of the best PlayStation games out there to this day, and I don't think it's gonna go out of people's minds anytime soon. Last of Us Part 2 I personally enjoyed up to a certain point, and then it just nosedived, unfortunately. It felt rushed, etc. But I've done a playthrough of that on the channel. If you want to go and check out The Last of Us Part 2, I will leave a link to that in the description of this video. Last of Us Part 1 I have also done, obviously, but that was done years and years ago. I played it when it first came out on PS3, and I played the remastered version on PS4, but there's now a remake remaster on PS5. So if you haven't played it and you want to experience it, and you are experiencing it for the first time, if you've got a PS5, no better time to pick that beauty up. If you've played it before, I think there's very minor tweaks to the game. There's very minor sort of graphical improvements. There's some fleshed out areas, some extra little bits and pieces. So I personally don't think it's worth the full price tag if you've already played it all the way through before. But if you haven't, absolutely play it. But you might just be a massive fan of it anyway, and you might not give a shit about paying an extra 60-70 quid, and you might want to play it all the way through again on PS5. Each to their own. But that is my review done, guys. If I was to give it a rating, a very easy 10 out of 10. I love being able to say that with these types of TV shows, especially when they're doing game adaptations of games. To come away from something so shit and disappointing as Rings of Power to then go into something like this is the pinnacle of TV. I absolutely love it. HBO series as well. They normally deliver Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. There's loads of HBO stuff out there that's normally pretty on the money, and this looks to be one of them. So very, very positive, very happy, loved everything about it. As I said, the character development was great, loved the casting, the acting, the dialogue. There was some humor in there, there were some tense scenes. We already get to see what Joel's personal struggle is when he battered that guard to death, and he's just thinking about Sarah. He's reminiscing about what happened to her. Felt really, really bad for Sarah, even though I knew what was coming from the events of the game. Still heart-wrenching, still absolutely relatable and painful. It's going to be an emotional roller coaster. I can't wait to see the secret that unfolds about Ellie, and I can't wait to see some of the creatures that you guys are going to be clicking your jaws about. The clickers come in, there's another bigger, much badder one that's come in. We've got bandits to deal with. There's going to be the fireflies that are going to give us a little bit more backstory to what's going on, and they may sprinkle in some new stuff in there as well on top of all that. So cannot wait. Fantastic pilot episode, 10 out of 10. I will see you guys next week for episode 2. Let me know your thoughts on episode 1 in the comments. Are you as pleased with the episode as me? Did you have any gripes? My one and only gripe, as I said, was the issue. The very little issue about Bella's character doing the whole not quite Ellie bit yet, but that might be for a reason. And also the fungus. They've changed it from being spores to fungus. Very small detail that's changed, and you're probably thinking, Jay, get over it. It's, you know, what does it matter? It doesn't really, but and it fits the TV show. But I just think you just know the reason they've changed that is because of COVID and people are afraid. Come on, guys. Come on. But anyway, 10 out of 10. I will see you next week. Let me know in the comments what you think of the episode. And I will see you guys very, very soon. Stay tuned to the channel, guys. We're going to continue playing the Project Zero playthrough. There's more TV and movie reviews coming as well as I sink into my backlog of TV shows and movies as well. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you again very soon. Peace.